There is one word that is killing the vibe on the internet right now, and that one word is authenticity. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to 10 at a Time, the not so short long form show. We're gonna have to work on that name. My name is Widlin, and thank you for being here. Hey, last episode, y'all ran that shit up. Thank you. You guys really ran it up. I know that we were talking about a very salacious, very clickable topic. That's one thing that I could never take from Miss Hutta. She drives clicks. Am I right or am I right? But I didn't even do a thumbnail for that video. And you guys really turned out and turned up for me. I really appreciate it. And now you're going to have to do it every time. You thought it was over. It's never over. You signed a lifelong contract. I'm going to see you right here again and again, every week, same time, same place. We're never done. You're never getting out of this. Are you scared? Don't be scared. I'm going to love you. I'm going to love you in ways that you forgot to ask to be loved. This is a little bit of video about Love Island, but it's not really a video about Love Island. I want to slowly wean us off the Love Island dialogue. I'm scared you're going to leave. Hey guys, I want to talk about authenticity. I think authenticity in the past couple of weeks online has really been racking my brain, just because, I mean, as a person who's like, I have a platform, I have a podcast. Thank you for listening to this podcast. I have to constantly be considering the ways that people might be consuming me and whether they believe that it's authentic or not. And I'm considering whether that's like a sustainable or healthy way for me to, have a relationship with the work that I do and the work that I produce. But it's not even just about me being like a public facing person. It's also about just like my offline life, your offline life, the non-public parts of our lives, and whether we're like holding them up to a standard that's kind of impossible. Authenticity, right? When I think of authenticity, I'm thinking about like an introspective assessment. What's true and real to me? But now it feels like authenticity is something that's becoming more and more externalized. And it's not necessarily about the introspective assessment about your own truth and how that might manifest, but it's also about how people are consuming that truth and whether it digests well and easily for them, right? And I think the ultimate, we'll get into this later, but I think the ultimate like consequence of that is that people double down on their most easily digestible, easily consumable, like the tropes about themselves that are the most digestible for others. The thing that made this come to mind for me was two things. The first thing was, here it goes. Sorry guys, Cierra from Love Island USA season 7. It was Cierra from Love Island season 7, and it was also this stuff about performative men. This might be a really shit episode. Okay. So the thing about Cierra that I think is so interesting, I mean, for all of the very legitimate criticisms, and they are legitimate, a lot of them, you know what I'm saying? We all saw of all of the criticisms of Cierra that are like quite legitimate, the one that never really sat right with me was the one about her being too PR trained. And I really want to understand what everyone was saying around that and what that necessarily means, right? To me, when I hear someone say like, oh, she's manipulative, she's insincere, she's too PR trained, she's a liar. Meanwhile, like right next to her in the villa, we have Hutta, who is like canonically a liar in 4K, like on camera in multiple instances. I'm just like, it's really weird to single out Cierra as being like a disingenuous, deceitful person. Okay, interesting. It's about authenticity again. Like, I think that's something about the way Cierra presents herself, right? One, reads as insincere because it rubs up against what our preconceptions about who she should be and what she should be are. Does that make sense? I feel like part of the thing about Cierra being too PR trained, I'm like, who else do I see in the world that is kind of like Cierra? And I think of like, there are a lot of like public facing media figures that I'm like very polished, very like well-spoken, very articulate. They're very selective and intentional about the words that they use. Do I think that all of the public facing figures, all of the people, not even public figures, all the people that I know in my life who are very intentional with their words, who are trying to be pretty thoughtful about what they say and how they present themselves. Do I think all of those people are inauthentic? When my homegirl is like thinking through what she wants to say before she says it and like using her therapy speech that she got from TikTok, am I saying that she's being inauthentic? Not necessarily. I'm like, oh, she's doing that corny little thing where she talks like she runs a racial justice nonprofit. But I don't say she's inauthentic. Why is it that Cierra reads as too PR trained? Part of it is like the setting, right? Love Island. I think that Love Island historically has people who are a little off kilter, right? And also the audience is projecting a little bit based on what we know about the ways that the show has blown up in the last year. I know me personally, if I went on this year, I would be on my P's and Q's knowing that it's going to be viewed by the entire world. So me personally, I'm admitting that myself, I'm projecting that these people might be more calculated or more performative than they might actually be. Just because I know that's how I would be. I would have my guard up knowing that more people than ever are watching Love Island. But then also understanding like the type of people that enter that villa. Cierra does not necessarily emotionally fit that profile based on what I know. I think Cierra wears it in a different way. And I think that there's also the complication that she is a woman of color. I don't know that if a white woman went onto Love Island, used like her $5 words, all of the syllables she ever had, I don't know if we would be like, she's too PR trained, she's too polished. I think that we would say, what an elegant woman, and I hope that she finds a man. There's something incredibly racialized in terms of people's expectations of who Cierra is supposed to be based on what she looks like and where she comes from and what we believe about those types of people. And then her not necessarily aligning herself with the expectations. So this is the first point that I want to make about authenticity.
Hey, this is Woodland in the edit. Someday I want to release something where I don't have to add extra context in the edit, but I'm realizing that like Cierra as an example is going to be a hard no for some people, but I think that the point that I'm trying to make is larger than Cierra. I think another good example is Olandria during the Stand on Business challenge when she was finally fed up with Taylor's nonsense and decided to give him a piece of her mind, and she had that really emotional outburst. And I remember being like, oh, cool, Olandria's really being honest. Like she's finally getting what she has on her chest. She's trying to get it off. And I respect that. But then I got online and I saw some people go so far as to say like, finally, the real Olandria. Finally, something real. As though everything we'd seen from Olandria before then was not real. As though it's not possible that in her natural state, Olandria is just like an emotionally reserved, more stoic person. You know? That like actually this really volatile version of her is the only authentic part. And we've all been waiting for this. And I'm like, I was not waiting for this. This was not, everything that I've seen before, I believed. So what is it about Olandria in particular, or any of these women, that makes you distrustful of the fact that they could regulate themselves or that they could, you know, have more patience or something like that? It's weird. You know what I'm saying? It kind of establishes this precedent where like, the only authentic or the only trustworthy thing that a woman could be, let alone a woman of color could be, is hyper emotional. And I don't like that. Let's get back to the show.
Is that oftentimes authenticity is about stereotype, right? Like to me, it was what it feels like. For example, sorry, this is going to sound bad because Cierra is Mexican and I'm going to make a joke about a Mexican restaurant. It's not, or I'm going to use a Mexican restaurant as an example. That's not why. But think of it like, when I think of like where authentic stands out in my real life, I think of cuisine. Like people go to restaurants and you say, is this authentic Italian? Is this authentic Mexican? Is this authentic Indian food? Which is interesting because one, the ways that we're using authentic in our everyday life outside of media already is about consumption. We use authentic as a word to describe the consumables, the things that we like, you know, literally digest and consume in our lives. That's one. But then I'm like, what are the pillars of a Mexican restaurant that make it authentic or inauthentic? And that's about tradition, yes, but also it's about trope and stereotype. Does the food that I'm seeing before me, does it align perfectly with the history of how I've engaged with this thing previously, or the history of where this thing comes from. And like in some ways, when you're talking about food and a consumable, that's fine that you like project stereotype onto it. But when you're talking about a person, it gets weird and it gets messy that you're projecting stereotype and expectation. And when that person doesn't align with those stereotypes and expectations, you call them inauthentic and too PR trained, as though they need to be manipulated out of being what they're meant to be. Does that make sense? Oh, I feel like I'm really warming up right now. There are a lot of things you could say about Cierra, but I think that one is like an interesting one to call out. This kind of gets me into this performative man thing. I don't know if you've seen on TikTok, but people keep talking about, oh, performative male. And this has been a thing for like a really long time. People have talked about, oh, this person's so performative. Your activism is performative. Your this is performative. Your philanthropy and whatever is performative. Your goodness, your kindness, your generosity, blah, blah, blah. All of the best things about you are performative. And the only thing that's true is you're evil. The only thing that's true about you is evil, and all the good stuff is performance. It's all theater. Okay, cool. But it's kicked up a notch in the last like month or two. I don't know. Ever since Matcha hit the scene and that man got on here and was like, I'm a matcha nigga. People really turned it up and became matcha niggas. Now matcha's a trend. I've always been a matcha nigga. I've been a matcha nigga for a long time. I don't drink coffee. I just recently started drinking coffee because of my dad. That's another story. I'll tell the story now. I went to the Dominican Republic with my dad, and he told me the story of how when he was in Haiti, and I always knew he grew up on a farm. Right? That's something that I knew. He grew up in a place called Barade, Haiti. And it's in the mountains. It's in the south. It's a very secluded place. Like no running water. There's a well down the river or down the mountain. And you have to send your children down the mountain to bring water up every week. And he told me this and I was like, damn, out of all the generations that I've lived in Barade, no one's built an irrigation system or something like that to bring the water up. I can't judge. That's me coming with my Western mind. I can't judge. Maybe they have a system. I don't fucking know. But like, it takes dick long to go down the mountain. If you need a doctor, they got to carry you down the mountain to the road to get into a car to get to the doctor. It takes a long time. But anyway, I'm in the Dominican Republic. I'm having a sunset dinner with my dad on the beach, and he's telling me about his childhood. This shit was fucking beautiful, man. It's one of my most cherished memories to this day. It happened 3 months ago, but to this day, it's one of my most cherished. It was really beautiful. We were eating chio. It's red snapper. We were eating red snapper together at this restaurant. And he's telling me about not only like was he growing up on a farm, but he grew up on a coffee plantation. I didn't know it was a coffee plantation. But he's like, yeah, when I was in Haiti, everything was coffee. And I knew that this was true, that Haiti had like specific cash crops before they were like destabilized by the US and all of the infiltration and so on and foreign intervention. Like there are these things called like Creole pigs, and this was like a specific breed of swine, a Creole swine maybe. It's a specific breed of pig, of swine that existed in Haiti that was so abundant. And when I think about like the pork recipes that come out of Haiti, right? Griot, I'm like, oh my God, I bet you guys used like this abundant natural resource to like curate your culinary tradition. So anyway, Creole swine don't exist anymore. They went extinct because there was an outbreak of swine flu or swine fever that started to take over the island. And then the US government, I think this is the story, the US government intervened and demanded that or created an initiative program where Haitians would be paid for killing the pigs, the native indigenous species of swine, right? Killing as many as they could and presenting and like bringing the body to a processing center, and they would be paid a fee per pound of pig. And in a short amount of time, all of the Creole swine were eliminated from the island, and in their place, the U.S. Offered to like provide their own pigs, right? To be like, hey, we'll replace your pigs with our pigs. Mind you, no one wanted the American pigs, those bougie ass pigs. They needed medicine. They needed special food. Like the Creole swine were so fit for Hispaniola and for Haiti because they had built up like the fortitude and the durability to survive in that climate and in that ecosystem. And that's not true for the American pigs that were coming in. They needed to be taken care of versus the previous pigs. Like you could feed them anything you could do. Anyway, besides the Creole swine, another cash crop was coffee. And so my dad tells me I grew up on a coffee plantation. And when he tells me that and how, you know, he grew up drinking coffee every morning and drinking it at night, and his dad drank coffee and everything was coffee and trading coffee and brewing coffee and harvesting coffee and so on. I think about growing up with my dad and my mom in the house and how much they drank coffee and how I'd wake up early in the morning sometimes and I'd sneak downstairs to make them the pot of coffee for them before they left for work, and how much that meant to them. They would light up. They'd be like, "Oh, thank you so much." And I'd be like, "Can I have some?" And they'd sneak me a little bit with milk. It's really special memories. But I never really had the context of understanding that like the coffee was actually part of a much larger lineage. Anyway, blah, blah. Why did I bring up the coffee? Oh, I don't drink coffee. I do now. I'm starting to now, but I've been a matcha person for a long time, and I've been a chai. I love chai. Oh, I fucking love chai. But the thing is, you can find a decent matcha in New York pretty easily. Chai goes wrong so much more frequently than matcha goes wrong. You would think that like the way people make chai, it's either just like cinnamon milk or they brewed it from their ass. I don't know what they're doing with the chai. Good chai is hard to find. Good matcha, difficult to find, not as hard to find. Matcha's trending now. Not for me, this is a lifestyle, but matcha's trending now. I'm not like you niggas, I'm different. I've loved matcha for a long time. Don't you ever compare me to those guys. Matcha's trending now. And all these boys are like drinking matcha, and it's become this stereotype that men drinking matcha is this like performative identity, you know? It's like men drinking matchas, men carrying labubus, men wearing wired headphones, men reading in public, men listening to Claro, men listening to Biba Doobie. It's actually kind of like the anti-black stereotypes that they have, where it's like, hey, let's list a series of very enjoyable things that most people do appreciate and then make them anti-black stereotypes. Like they're like, black people love watermelon, black people love chicken. Those are actually just like, wait a minute, hold on. When I see a man read, I know he's being performative. That's fucking crazy. That's crazy. I saw someone who was like, if I see a man eating omakase, I know he's being performative. That one might be true, because I don't even know if I know for sure what exactly omakase is. What is it about these men that allow us to assume that the things that we see them doing and enjoying publicly isn't sincere? And at the end of the day, it just comes down to like conventional masculinity and the ways we form our expectations around conventional masculinity. You expect that man to drink coffee black or to drink like, I don't know, a fucking Americano. Disgusting. No sugar. Violent. What should that man be listening to if not Claro's critically acclaimed album, you know, that was like trending for like 8 months. And that's what it is. I think a lot of it is just about like men being allowed to participate in trends that everyone else is participating in. Everyone gets to fuck with Labubus right now. Men can fuck with Labubus. Y'all are lucky we didn't come for Sunny Angels or whatever the fuck. I don't really fuck with any of that stuff. I do think it's a little silly. I think it's a little stupid, but I'm not a big trinket person in the first place. I do think like the cycle of trinkets, I'm just like, you people and your junk. I hope my girlfriend isn't watching this. She loves that shit. Anyway, it's getting to the point where I'm like, I think that this performative man thing is actually like kind of a whip that people are using, kind of like sassy, kind of like whatever, to get men to fall back in line in terms of their performative or their conventional performance of masculinity. And I use performance intentionally there because I've read Judith Butler. All gender is performance. Amen. I think I made a Judith Butler joke last episode. How embarrassing. Anyway. Shit. Let's move on from that. Now it's the scarcity mindset. So like the fucking CIA, like the FBI, y'all paid like marketing agencies and firms and private interest groups. They start funneling money into the social media ecosystem to discourage men from drinking matcha. That's what this is about. You want it all to yourself. So now any guy who's drinking matcha is performative. This isn't even about me because matcha is not even my favorite anymore. I drink hojicha. I'm on some new shit. You haven't even heard of Hojicha. You don't even know where to get that shit. Exactly. You think you're so much better. You think that's what you think. You think you're so much better, and you hate that 21-year-old boys in Supreme and motherfucking Yeezy socks are coming in to take all the matcha. You're terrified. You're too scared to play an honest game. It's pathetic. Well, let me tell you something. I like matcha. I like Hojicha. I do like the Claro album. I don't like all of Claro. I tried to listen to it because my girlfriend is a longtime Claro fan, and I wanted to feel close to her. So I went back in the discography, and I tried it. But honestly, the production technology is much better today, and I think that she can get a better product. I think that she's putting her best foot forward now, based on the collaborators that she's collaborating with and the resources that she has at her disposal. Speaking of discographies that I went into, Taylor Swift. I'm not afraid to say it. I like that shit. Willow, like that. Evermore and Folklore. No, Folklore and what is it? Folklore and the other one that she wrote in the woods with that man. Whatever those are, those were great. I dipped my toe into those, and then I did a retrospective on the entire discography. When I tell you that lady, every single album, you think you don't like it. You do. I promise you do. I promise that generally speaking, any one of you could do Taylor Swift at karaoke. And to me, that is at least one type of success to measure. You can say that you don't like her performances and whatever, but I promise you right now, like if you were being held at gunpoint and somebody said, sing all the words to sing all the words to 15, sing all the words to Romeo, take me somewhere we can be alone. I've been waiting. All we have to do is run. You be the prince and I be the princess. It's a love story, baby. Just say yes. You would make it home alive. I promise you would make it home alive. And that's a type of power. But now you're going to call me performative because I'm a man that likes Taylor Swift, or is it because I'm black and I like Taylor Swift? That's what this is about. You see how weird it gets? Because again, sorry, I'm going to get back to the original point that I was trying to make. Jesus Christ. Thanks for being here, everybody. I'm so apologetic. When we get back to it, it's like authenticity is about stereotype, convention, and expectation, right? And it gets weird once we like expand beyond the gendered paradigm of like performative man. I like Taylor Swift, which goes against the cultural script and the expectation and the stereotype of what I'm supposed to enjoy as a black man. Does that mean I'm being performative now? A little bit, maybe. And what's the harm in that? And the irony is that like when men do more traditional things, it's not, when men do stoicism and when they're aggressive and when they lash out and that's never performative. When men fuck with Led Zeppelin and the Grateful Dead, I don't know why those aren't good examples. When men fuck with Drake, it's never performative. When men like Drake, I'm losing it. I'm losing you. I can feel it that I'm losing you. Stay with me. You want a monopoly on all the best TikTok trends and all the fun TikTok dances. Y'all want a monopoly on TikTok. Every day I hear a joke about people being like, why are you as a man posting TikToks? Enough. It's my hobby. If Cierra presented a more stereotypical, conventional, emotional mode for a woman of color, but also for a person on Love Island, then we would never say she's too PR trained, which is the dangerous thing, is that, the expectation is as a woman of color, you should go on Love Island and crash the fuck out and be unable to emotionally regulate yourself like some other people in the villa do. And those people get to be called authentic and true and honest and sincere. But because she does not present herself that way, now she's too PR trained. I think it's a slippery slope. It's a very dangerous game that we're playing. So then this begs the question, like, is authenticity, is it about what we express, or is it about our intention, right? Is it about reception, or is it about reality? The thing is, as a person who's been on the internet for a long time, and there are things that people are going to pull from the internet archive that they're like, this performative ass nigga. The reality is, like, through this medium that all of us are spending so much time on, TikTok, YouTube, TV, whatever. It's parasocial. You don't know who I am or who these people are. And I mean that in the sense that like there's a bit of distance, but also like it's hard to draw conclusions about who someone authentically is versus who they authentically are. It becomes meaningless when we live in a world where one day the audience can grant it to you and the next day they can take it away, when nothing about the performance of who you are and the presentation of who you are has changed. Maybe the circumstances changed or the whatever, but like you could be the same person and present yourself the same day today. And at any moment, the audience could decide that you are no longer authentic based on what they expect from you. Do you know what I'm saying? And so it becomes so meaningless, which is why I'm telling you, if you're a creative person or if you're a person just living your life and you want to live freely, free yourself, be free from the labels and the confines, free yourself. If you want to be free, you got to kill the word authenticity, because authenticity is a way we talk about food, not a way we talk about people. Authenticity is a way that we talk about designer collectibles. It's not a way we talk about, it's a way we use the word authentic to talk about baseball cards, not people. You are living. To be is to be authentic. Everything that you are is an authentic representation of where you come from and who you and what you're feeling and what you are. Even if you're manipulating and lying, the authentic truth is that you're a manipulative liar. That's authentic. But you know what I'm saying? It's to get where I'm going. The real concern for me is that there is a gap between. The real concern to me is that when we talk about authenticity as something that can be, granted to you as a label or taken away from you as a label by people who are perceiving you, there's a gap between all the things that you are and all the things that you might someday desire to be, right? And there's a middle ground space that exists between those two things. And the middle ground space is trying. Let's say you're right. Let's say Cierra doesn't normally present herself that way. She was trying to be on her best behavior because she was on camera. She was trying, right? Let's say she was trying to put her best foot forward. There's the person that she is, and there's the person that she wants to be. And in between is effort. When we talk about authenticity the way that we do online, as though it's like a flip of a switch or there's a yes or a no, whatever, it means that everything in between, all the effort in between who we are and who we want to be becomes inauthentic because it isn't static anymore. For example, I just got a piano. I brought it into my house. I don't play the piano yet, right? But I love music. I've always wanted to play the piano. It's been a dream of mine since I was a kid. But right now, the version of me that exists, I am not a piano player. Hopefully, in a couple of months, the version of me that exists is a piano player. The space in between where I say, I play the piano because I can clunk around a bit. I can accompany myself. I can play a couple chords. If I say, yeah, I kind of play the piano, does that mean I'm being inauthentic because I haven't fully realized the ultimate version of what that is going to be? If Cierra from Love Island says, her goal is that she wants to be more well-spoken and more intentional with her words, but it's still in the phase where it's working itself out and it's like it's more efforted than we might want to consume. Does that mean because she's in that in-between space that she's being inauthentic? If you have a male friend who's getting into bell hooks the way that everyone was reading bell hooks like 2 summers ago, but he's still not really good at it yet. He doesn't really digest it. His gender politic isn't great, but he's working on it. It's the first time he's ever read something like that. Does that mean that his curiosity around that is inauthentic because he's in between the place that he is now, where he began, and the place where he will end up? Is it better maybe for you to stay the exact version of yourself that you are now instead of trying to become something different? Because the journey will prove that you're an inauthentic person. You won't be what you want and you won't be what you were either. You'll be something in between, and that's not authentic. That's not real. That's performative. Is that what we're saying? You have to kill the word authentic. You have to kill the word performative inside you. All the things that we are authentic, and all the things that we share are performative. That's just life. And you'll free yourself. I freed myself by trying to like compartmentalize the parts of myself that I feel aren't ready to share yet. And honestly, me doing this podcast is part of that, because there's so much of this that I'm like, it's not ready. It's not perfect. They're not going to like me. They're not going to get me, so on and so forth. And I hope that you do. And I hope that those things aren't true. But even if they are, it doesn't change the fact that this is something that I feel called to do, and I must do it, even if I'm starting in the living room of my apartment and not at a podcast studio or wherever, podcasts are supposed to happen. Right? That doesn't make this an inauthentic something. If you're a person who wants to get started on social media, the space between you being someone who just scrolls and likes things and leaves comments versus you being, a mega influencer, you're going to have to do a get ready with me that no one watches. And that doesn't make it performative, and that doesn't make it inauthentic. That means that you're trying, and to try is to be authentic. Trying is authentic. Authenticity is not a shorthand for effortlessness. In fact, I think one of the most authentic, sincere things you can do is to try and to make effort. And that's what I want to say today. So whatever it is you'd like to do in this life, whoever you'd like to be, I hope that you are putting in effort. I hope that you try. I'll leave it at that. Like, all of the things that you are and anything that you could possibly do comes from inside of you, and therefore is authentic. You're authentic. I believe you. Whatever it is you want to be and the things that you say that you are, I believe you. Cool. That's it, man. That's my rant. Thank you so much for checking out 10 at a time, the not so short long form show. I'll meet y'all at the matcha. Am I right or am I right? All right. It's my favorite thing to be. Performative. It's my favorite thing to be. I'll talk to you soon.